Hello, and welcome to Badass Moms, brought to you by the Holistic Therapies Directory. I'm Nicole Cruz, super busy mommy coach. For those of you who have been listening to this podcast, you might have heard that I was working on a product for the new year, and that officially launched in January. So if you want a do-it-yourself at-home transformation that is specifically made for busy moms who are sleep deprived and constantly interrupted, but don't want to settle for less than a hardcore workout with excellent results, this is for you. It's made to be interruption proof, extremely flexible, and gives you everything a hardcore regimen needs to include, plus the nutrition and lifestyle hacks you need in order to manage your stress and be able to be that mom who handles everything with grace. It's made specifically for single moms, moms in the toughest situations. So whatever it is, if you want to check it out, go to superbusymommycoach.com and check out the Do-It-Yourself Transformation Program, or hit me up on Facebook or Instagram at superbusymommycoach, and I'd be happy to answer all your questions and see if it's the right fit for your lifestyle. I am very excited to be here today with Mel Bocobo. Mel, she actually does something very similar to what I do. She helps busy working women to create mindful eating habits and strategies so that they're free to enjoy all events in life. Mel and her amazing husband, Johnny, founded the Ohana Strong Transformation, which you can connect with them online or in their brick and mortar location in Los Angeles, California. Mel, welcome to Badass Moms.
Thank you for having me.
It's so great to have you. Yeah, so what we do is super similar in that we both work with busy moms. My focus is more on like single moms, moms in crisis situations. Your focus is more on married moms, working moms. But there's just so much overlap that when we talk, It's like we can go forever and ever and ever. And so let's see where this conversation takes us. We have so much in common.
I mean, I loved our, we had a not even a quick prep call yesterday. It was almost like you said, it was like almost just a podcast yesterday.
Yeah, I was I wish I had pressed record. So we started talking. It was supposed to be like a quick 20-minute prep call, and an hour and a half later, I was like, why didn't I record this?
I think we were talking, and I think I had some curse words, so I think maybe it's good that we didn't record it. So we didn't want it to sound like Jerry Springer or anything like that.
Totally. We got our professional faces on now.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally. Yeah. So, I mean, let's just start off. We started talking about yesterday, what is going on right now with busy moms? What is the state of busy motherhood in 2020 in the United States, in the Western world? What are we facing? What are the issues here? What are the obstacles?
I mean, I think what it is as being, even if you're not a mom, you're a busy woman, and it's like trying to cram in these things. And then when you have a child, it's like, how do I create, great habits? How do I be the role model? And like we were talking yesterday, your kids are saying, Mom, I want to eat McDonald's. Mm-hmm. And so the strategy is, how do you get your child to eat, and how do you get to eat healthy? And that's where I love to tell busy working women, you can have your kid have his Happy Meal, but be the role model and make the healthier choice. So let's say your kid has its Happy Meal, but you have your grilled chicken salad, or you have your yogurt parfait, and then your child becomes interested, like, Mom, you're eating healthy, why are you doing this? And then it becomes that conversation. And we were saying that in the state of children nowadays, they're so into their electronics that there is no conversation happening at the table. And if Mom is on her phone, and then you're kind of role modeling, okay, I'm on my phone, so I guess it's okay for you to be on your phone. And then that is where this disconnect is coming right now. A lot of kids right now, they're on electronics because their school is kind of almost requiring them to. I had spoken to a mom, and they're they're on their iPad, and the teacher sends them their assignment on their iPad. So it's where is the communication there too? So it all stems from us as adults. What do we want for our children? yeah, we want them to be efficient, but how are they efficient as a social being? And that's where we're losing a lot of the connection now. I don't know what you see, but I see that, like, when I'm just out and about with John, my husband, it's like I can glance over and the whole family is on their phone at the table having lunch or having dinner. And it's like, wow, where does conversation happen? And I think that's where I'm trying to say, like there's no conversation, there's no human connection. And that's what we're missing nowadays with parents and their kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hear that. And I think, like phones and electronics are tools, and
Yeah.
we have, like, there are other tools, right? Like a knife is a tool, and a knife can be used to
Yeah.
sculpt a magnificent piece of art. It can be used to cook the dinner I made yesterday and, chop up some apples for those muffins. And it can also be used to murder
Yeah.
somebody. It's a tool. And it's not good
Yeah.
or bad. A knife isn't good or bad. It's how we choose to use it. And same thing with
That's right.
electronics. I mean, they're one of the most magnificent advancements. The internet, everything we have the knowledge of the world in the palm of our hand. It's amazing when you think about it, but a lot of us aren't using that tool in ways that serve us very well. Like when we're using it for, and don't get me wrong, we all sometimes pick up our phone for mindless entertainment, but like if that's a big use of your time on the phone, mindless entertainment, trying to escape an awkward moment or discomfort in real life, or just like escape what's happening in general. And if you're passing that down onto your kids, then I think that's where the problem is. So everyone sees that behavior, and it's really easy. Like when there's temptation, it's easy to fall into some of these negative behaviors, right? And so people see that behavior and they want to say, phones are bad, electronics are bad. And I'm like, dude, this is some of the most amazing technology we've had. How do we become better users of technology? How do we teach our children to use technology for productive reasons? And I can't say I have a great answer to that. I'm just trying to figure it out. And so, for example, for Valentine's Day, I surprised Eric. He found a YouTube video, because I mean that's what kids do. They come out of the womb and go on YouTube. And so he found this YouTube video with this indoor playground he's obsessed with. And so one day he's like, "Mommy, we have to go to Sweden." So Eric's 5 years old. "Mommy, we have to go to Sweden."
You're like, okay.
What? We have to go to Sweden. Why do we have to go to Sweden? To the playground, Mommy. To the indoor playground. We have to go to Sweden.
Yeah.
Interesting. So my son was just, he's young, very innocently saw this video and was like, "Hey, let's go to this indoor playground in Sweden." I live in New York City, for those of you who don't know. And it was like, okay, we'll have to think about that one. But so anyway, I've actually never been to Europe. I've always wanted to go, and I never had the opportunity. I wanted to plan a big vacation this year out of the country. And I thought, what the heck? Let me look into where this place is in Sweden. And turns out it's like an hour and a half train ride outside of Stockholm. And I looked into that, and it seems like it would be an awesome trip. So for Valentine's Day, Eric got a little sort of a treasure hunt, and I gave him a Valentine's Day card, and it like gave a hint for him to look under his pillow. And then there was a little box of chocolates. No, chocolates are not healthy. It's a once in a while thing. A box of chocolates. He opened the box of chocolates, and there was a little note telling him to check his iPad for a text message from me. By the way, texting for young children is an amazing way to teach them how to read and write, because it's inherently motivating, especially because they see us on the electronics all the time, and they want to do the same thing, and they just get so into it. They practice their words. It like fills in the words a little bit for them. And so I practiced reading and writing and typing with Eric through text message a lot. So he texted he checked his iPad for a text message. It told him to find the app called Google Drive, which I had downloaded on there. And then when he opened it, there was one document that was entitled Eric, tap here. And when he tapped it, it said, surprise, we're going to Sweden. And it was like a kid-friendly itinerary I had made.
Oh, Yeah,
And it
that's
had like an
awesome.
internet like treasure hunt type of thing, like a scavenger hunt for him to like, Google things and like use Google Maps. And he hadn't learned how to do this. So we were like learning together. I taught him how to make screenshots of things and we would like
That's
put it
so
in the
cool.
itinerary. So he's learning how to like put together a document a little bit, like some of the basics. I mean, he's 5 years old. He's learning how to do a Google search. He's
That's
learning how to look up directions on Google Maps. And
yeah.
that's, like,
Now
I don't
that's
know if it's gonna
different.
work. Yeah, totally. And like, I don't know if it's gonna work. I don't know if he's gonna all of a sudden like take these skills and start. Like, my hope is that when he gets curious about something, we'll get into the habit of, well, why don't you Google it, or how can we find that out? And instead of him just being like asking me questions, because kids ask you questions as if you're supposed to know everything. Like, mommy, why is that there?
Why?
I don't know. Did I put it there? I have no idea why that's there. Like, mommy, why
Yeah.
did they just do this? I don't know why they did that. You should ask them. They just expect us to have all the answers. And Google does have all the answers if you know how to, evaluate the quality of the information you're getting, which is
Right.
another skill for kids to learn. But so it's like, I'm hoping that with us doing this together, we're going in April, so we have a lot of time. For those of you listening, it's now February 23rd. I'm not sure when this will get published. That'll be up to, Jock, the founder of the Holistic Therapies Directory.
I
But
mean, that's so cool that he could be your next travel blogger. You never know. You know what I mean? He sees you, you know, having these podcasts. So you never know. You bring up the next, podcaster, blogger. You never know. So that's really cool.
I mean, we have vlogs from our last trip. He made some videos like,
I saw that.
hi, we're in Petersburg now, we did
But,
an Amtrak train adventure.
but that's the thing. It's giving him the confidence to like go on camera. Like, I mean, for me, like, I know doing this for me, like few months back or even last year, like I'm like, oh no, like I don't have the confidence to do that. But as like, when you have a business coach, or like you got to put the reps in, just like you're working out. Like you didn't have all the answers in the beginning. You didn't have all of your let's say like you did a deadlift. There was a whole like checklist, like, okay, is my body like this? Am I doing that? Am I doing this? Am I doing that? And it's like you get better as you go. And I think that's a lot of the things like in self-development, like yeah, your confidence is sometimes it's just not always there, but when you put yourself out there, it's just a whole new ball game out there, because now it's like, am I doing the right thing for me? Am I happy with what I'm doing? Does it matter what someone says? And we talked about that, about like us, and here we're segueing our bodies and where we
Yeah.
are at this time in this moment. And like we were talking about, like, okay, here in LA, it's our cold season. Like we were
Mhm.
talking about like a kind of wimps here in Los Angeles. Like when it turns 60, it's like, all right, let's get our puffer jackets out. Let's hugs.
Let's hibernate and drink hot cocoa all day.
You'll still see us like probably like in shorts, puffer jacket, Uggs, and shorts. And so like we were thinking, like, when it's this time, it's like you have to make that decision. Am I going to be on point, meaning not on point, tighter with my nutrition, tighter with my macros, or is this my season just to be healthy and just maintain and enjoy life? But the thing is, when you make that choice, you have to be okay with the results you're getting at that moment. And I think that's where we were talking about, like, people make their decisions hoping it's the same result, but it's not going to be the same result as if you have your nutrition tighter, you have your macros tighter, you have better choices. Like, I'll be honest, like during the wintertime, I just want to eat like comfort food. Like I just want to be like in, cozy clothes, and my workouts, they're not as intense per se, but you're still moving around, you're still doing something, but
Mhm.
that's the choice that you have to be okay with. You're not going to be as tight, as toned, and like we were saying, like it's not your season right now, but maybe when it gets warmer, you're like, I'm going to be in shorts, I'm going to be a dress. So that's the motivation there. And that's, for me, that's where I'm at. Like when the sun starts getting hotter, like you're like, all right, let's get tighter. I mean our bodies are amazing and they adapt, and we have to kind of like see and adapt with it as well too. Like who we are yesterday, 1 year ago, 5 years ago, we're not the same being. Like we had a conversation, John and I, with one of our old boot campers, and she's probably, I would say, like in her 50s maybe. maybe in her 60s. And she came back to us and she's like, I want to look like this 20-year-old. You're like, you are not that person. It's like your hormones are different. Where you were at 20, whereas 50, you don't have the same stressors in life. Like when you were 20, I'm pretty sure you were just going to school. That was just your main priority. Maybe you had a part-time job. As now you have a family, you have a business, you have, maybe your parents that you're taking care of and other obligations. So your effort is not going to be as the same as that. And when you were probably in 20s, you just slept all day long too. Like, you went out and the next day you just went to sleep, and you have priorities when you're older in life. It's not like you can sleep the whole day, like after you've only worked your butt off for 5 hours. And so it's like those conversations, you have to have those real conversations with people, and they don't want to stand in that truth, like I am not that same person. And it's hard for them to move on because they like to see themselves as that past individual, and they're always looking backwards. They never look forward to stay present in right now. And so I always say, like, you have to let go of the past so you can make room for the present to reside. And that's the thing, is like they need to understand that. And that's always education. And we always talk about education driving compliance. And sometimes we have to say, like, with our integrity, like, look, I can't help you because that's not what I do. And I think that's a responsibility as a coach. And to inform people, like, I'm not the coach for you because that's not who I am. Because maybe I was that person, maybe that's the way I coached before. Like, yeah, let's do a 6-week challenge, let's get your weight down. And we talked about that weight loss and fat loss are two separate beasts.
Yeah, it's like, let's get you to lose a bunch of water weight so that you can look like that for one day at this event, and then you're going to gain it back plus
Right.
more. Like, why?
Yeah. And so it's the education. Again, you can go to the sauna, lose 5 pounds. Is that what you want? Well, then you have your weight loss. But if it's fat loss you want, that is more work in itself. That's like being tighter with your nutrition, that's tighter with your workouts. There may be some times where you can't have, go on that vacation and go balls to the walls and have everything you want. It's going to be that balance, and it's like, okay, if you are tighter, your progress may be faster, but if you want that freedom, you'll get there, but at a slower pace. And it's, for me, it's like, we all want, I was talking about that, the flat abs, the booty popping, the lean legs, the sexy arms, but at what cost, to your life? And we talked about, like, are you being paid to be a super fitness model? No. If not, then let's tone it down a bit and live your life to where you can have those non-negotiables, your wine, your beer, your chicken wings, or whatever, your burger, and you can have date night. And I always say, if you can't sustain this lifestyle of eating for a whole year, or I mean, what is it all worth to you? Like, ask yourself those 3 questions. Can I sustain this eating habit for a whole year? Can I put my non-negotiables in? Can I do this for date night? And if you say no, then move on, because that's not for you. But if you say, well, yeah, I can do it, then okay, I respect that.
Yeah.
Totally.
I mean, like, there's nothing wrong with wanting to look the way you want to look, like, or not wanting, like, not caring about how you look either. There's nothing wrong with any of that. It's a personal choice. And if you do want to look a certain way, then it's up to us, like you said, to educate people on what it will take to look like that, and see if that's really the choice for them, if that's really what they want, and to be honest about what it'll take, as opposed to, like you said, the 6-week challenge where they lose some water weight and that's it, or whatever, these like shortcuts that don't actually last in the long term. And then at the same time, if it's up to some people, like if somebody wants to eat burgers and fries every day and they say, you know what, I just want to live it up right now because who knows, I could be dead tomorrow. Hey, if you're educated and you understand the consequences of that, and that's the right choice for that, and you feel that's the right choice for you, like, I completely support that. Like, it's up to the individual. And but on the other hand, I think one of the problems we see now is that you have a lot of people who are working really hard trying to do the right thing and get results, and they're not, because of misleading marketing claims. And
Totally.
that's a whole other issue that I think can make it difficult, because people will come and they'll say, oh, I can't because of my genes. Okay, well, what have you been doing? And it turns out they're doing a bunch of things that actually sound that they think are healthy, but aren't in their self-interest,
Mm-hmm.
and might not be what their body needs, even if it worked for their friend or their mother or their coworker.
Right.
And so that's another thing that can get pretty messy.
Yeah. So I mean, we talked about. I have this thing about your workouts are useless until you do the four S's, and I
The
talk about
recovery, yeah.
yeah. So I talked about that. You know, it's like I kind of the analogy is to a fork. Your fork has four prongs, but without those four prongs, you know, it's not a fork. But each prong is also as important as the next one, right? So like I talked about, you know, stress less,
Mm-hmm.
sleep more, your sustenance, your nutrition, and your self-care. Now, if you don't do those four things, why even like just have workouts as your priority? Because as we know, and we can't get away from stress these days. Like it's just our society. It's just we're just go, 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 you know. But the thing is, how do we manage our stress? You know, and it's almost one of those things where that conversation of when you eat less, it's stress. Like, let me go down that road again. Eating
Mm-hmm.
less is stressful. Working out is stressful. Not sleeping is stressful. Not giving yourself care, of course, is stressful. Not, you know, having those things in place, you know, what's your workout for? Like, you're going to be sleeping only for 5 hours a day, then you go to a HIIT workout, which is another stressor. Like, people don't understand that your body does not know whether you're doing a HIIT workout, whether it's it's running away from a tiger in that fight or flight mode. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you're in this what we call your sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight mode. So let's say busy working mom, you know, what are you doing the first thing in the morning? Getting the kids up. You're going, driving them to school. Maybe you have like a workout in, and then you're busy at work. Then you're like trying to scrounge for like, okay, what am I eat for lunch? And then you have meetings. Then you go home and you're like, okay, I got to pick up errands. I got to go to the grocery store. I got to pick up the kids. So it's like you're in this constant mode of stress. And when you put that workout into play, it's like all you're doing is just your cortisol level, your stress hormone is always high all the time. And when do you ever come off that stress hormone, that fight or flight syndrome, where you can just rest and digest and be yourself? And people are missing that. And I think as a mom, you would never say that to your child, like, oh yeah, okay, just keep on going, just keep on going, just keep on going. You've always said to kids, like, you need to sleep so you can grow. And it's like growing mentally, emotionally, physically. So why would you do that to yourself? Because you would never tell that to your child. And when you put it in that context, it's like, okay, you know, let's go back to basics. When you can master the basics, okay, let's put a workout in. You know,
Mm-hmm.
did you sleep? Did you eat? I always say people have to earn their workout. I always tell them, okay, I'm only giving you 3 days of workout, because here what we do in Ohana Transformations is boot camp style, is HIIT style.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to tell them you can only have 3 workouts in, you have to earn your 4th day with your recovery, meaning sleep and nutrition. If not, then you can't have your 4th day. Your 4th day is probably going to be just walking. It's self-care, walking, yoga, meditation, journaling, you know, spending time with your girlfriends, your friends. I mean, I think that sometimes we miss that permission to pause. Like, it's okay, you know, you have that opportunity to be mom, to be sister, to be daughter, you know. And we're missing that now. It's like, just slow down, you're always busy, it's time to slow down. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know how you feel about that. How do you feel about that?
No, yeah, I think you're right. The recovery is, you know, an important part of the workout, because the workout is basically, you know, stressing your body. I mean, first, I think clarifying the difference between different types of exercise. I like to distinguish between physical activity and
Mm-hmm.
training. There
Uh-huh.
are lots of types of physical activity, but not all of them are training. And so training is when you're methodically challenging your body in a
Uh-huh.
progressive way over time in order to get fitter. So to get stronger, to get faster, to get more flexible, whatever the case may be. That's training. And then there's
Uh-huh.
physical activity, which is where you're you're moving, and that can include training, but it can also include walking, which isn't really training for most fit people. You know what I mean? Like if you're recovering, if you're elderly, that might be considered training, but that's not really training for most people. Light physical activity, playing with your kids, you know, like throwing a ball around at the park, you know, things, and this can be different for different people, right? So for somebody who's an intense athlete, going for a jog might just be considered physical activity and not training, because that's too easy for them. They do it because they enjoy it, and it's stress relief, and it's kind of a maintenance thing, but it's not really training. So, you know, like depending on your, like, this is very personal. Like if you were just injured, training might be, you know, practicing standing up from a chair, you know. And so I think making that distinction is really important. And then what you said about recovery, when you're training, you need to recover. And while you're recovering, there can be light physical activity based on your fitness level. What is considered light physical activity or moderate physical activity will be different, but that's, you know, the recovery is crucial. And for recovery, you do need sleep. You do need the correct nutrition, because if you're breaking your muscles down when you train, the point is to signal to your body that they need to build more muscles and make them stronger. They need to rewire your neural network in order to be able to handle more. And if you're not giving your body the building blocks, the nutrition that it needs in order to do that, it's not going to happen. And so I think, like, you're absolutely on point with the recovery. And, you know, that's one of the things why the program I have, which again is more geared towards, like, you know, single moms, like moms who can't necessarily get to have somebody to watch their kids while they go to the gym, where they try to, you know, they wake up at 4 a.m. to do that workout, and then their kid, you know, pees the bed and has night terror. And well, there you go. Now when are they going to do their workout? Or they're on their way to the gym, and so needs to go back and do poopy. And then, well, they just poop their pants, and there goes gym time. So that unpredictability. And so one of the things I do is everything is done in short bursts to allow for that recovery time. It's spread out more throughout the week. So while you're doing, like, you know, longer, these HIIT style, like, you know, longer workouts, mine will be like a 6-minute burst here a couple times a day. You know, we have like these 6-minute bursts kind of spread throughout the day. And so they'll do it more often, but it'll be really short, where they're not overstressing their body, where they can recover, where they're focusing on different muscle groups. And you're 100% correct that with busy moms, overtraining is a real concern.
Yeah.
Because when you're that stressed, especially, you know, when you have younger kids, where you're waking up in the middle of the night to feed, you have toddlers, whatever the case may be, when you're that strained, and especially if you're someone who's really into fitness before you became a mom, or before you had this next baby, what used to be considered really easy for you, maybe just light physical activity, could actually be overtraining if you can't give your body that recovery. And so that doesn't mean you can't do hardcore workouts. It just means you may have to work up to them differently. You may have, your path to this level of fitness might be different, but you know, you're 100%. I mean, I noticed that with myself. I started seeing results so much better when I designed the Super Busy Mommy workout, which wasn't made to be a business. It was made because I literally could not find uninterrupted time to work out as a single parent. And, you know, working full time, still had the business open at the time with, you know, my son's father, where that hadn't been resolved yet. It was a lot. And so once I separated it out, my results were better, even though the workouts felt less intense, because I was able to recover fully. And so I was getting the full effects from each workout, as opposed to chopping those effects by trying to do what I always had done before.
Yeah, and so that is the cool thing, that you've made something work for you, and now you're making it work for single busy mommies. And I think, like you said, as a single mom, it's like your mom, your dad, so it all depends on you. So it's like, okay, like, how do I get this workout in? And, you know, it is the cumulative effect. It's like, okay, 6 minutes here, 10 minutes there, 6 minutes here. Yeah, you're going to get a 24, 22-minute workout, but it's in the whole day. And like you said, because you have that longer rest period, you can go hard again in 6 minutes. You can go hard again in 10 minutes, you know, and it's really cool. You know, just that kind of like a 10-minute hit or like a 10-minute training session. And you can go hit and you can go bodybuilding at the same time. And you have like the best of worlds, you know?
You
So,
just hit the nail on the head.
it's really cool. Like for me, like I've been doing HIIT style workout for a long time. And at some point your body takes a toll and it's like, dude, I'm done. Like, can you switch it up to something? And I really totally on point with like seasonally changing up your workout. Like maybe you are HIIT session this 3 months, maybe let's change it up to do bodybuilding, because then it's again you're switching that neurological stressor to like, okay, she's giving me rest. Like doing a bicep curl is so much different than doing a burpee. You know, you do like 10 burpees versus 10 bicep curls. You know, you can talk doing bicep curls. Like you do 10 burpees, you're like, don't talk to me. You know, like I'm doing like, you know, like you say, like we do an EMOM every minute on the minute. Can you imagine doing like 20 burpees on like doing an EMOM versus 20 bicep curls? You're like, you know, it's like you go. So, okay, I have that type of personality where like you give me a time, like I'm gonna like try to kill that time. You know, it's I like that style, but I know like in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, you gotta cool it. Like that's enough. Especially when you're like around like super motivated people, you get sucked into that energy. And I think that's why people, they love that style. But you love that style, but you're causing kind of like a death within yourself of your whole total being. Like you forget that I need to rest. But you know, like switching up your workout, periodization your workout, periodization. I think I'm saying it right. Yeah, periodization. Yeah, your work. You know, and like what happens when my mouth and my brain are like on like
periodization.
Like you know what I mean.
I know exactly what you mean. It's a tongue twister.
So I switched it up to more strength training, and like you said, like I found out like my body likes it better because I get to recover faster, because it's always like kind of like a lower body, then an upper body, maybe like a pushing and a pulling. And I still work in the hospital, so knowing that I have stress at work, then I get to do this and it's not as stressful. I think my body's like thanking me even more. Like, okay, now, because like, you know, we were talking about like women, we forget like, what is our goal? You'll say, I want to lose 10 pounds, but I want to make muscle. And then, so again, that's different modalities. And so we have to ask like the right questions of like, okay, if you're going to make muscle, you're going to have to eat more to have that hypertrophy. You're going to have to lift heavy. But weight loss, yeah, you can go with eating less and doing that metabolic training, but you're not necessarily going to build that muscle that you want. And it's like, again, like having that period of like, okay, this is your weight loss, fat loss. This is your, like we call like, you know, your muscle building, your recomp. And it's that education, like where do you really want to be? Because they're not overlapping. Protocols are so different. And when we can get down to it, then it's like, okay, I'm not sure I want to eat more, but you have to eat more to look like that. And what they see on social media is you don't know what goes behind the scenes. Like these girls are eating like maybe 25 to 3,000 calories. But again, that is what they do for their job. That is their job, to look like that. You're here as mommy, as busy working mother, you know, you don't have that time. I even struggle, just try to eat like 16 to 1,700 calories. Like eating becomes almost your job as well too. Like you have to eat. And again, we'll go talk about like knowing how much you're supposed to eat again, like your basal metabolic rate, your BMR. Like we are conditioned to train more, eat less. And where has it gone to us? Nowhere. We're still at the same place, you know? So it's either you go there, you can't eat less anymore. Like if you're eating 1,000 calories, where are you going to go? 800. If you're training 5 days a week, where are you going to go? 6, 7 days? So obviously that's not working. So you have to do the opposite. You're going to have to eat more, train less, and knowing how many calories you're supposed to eat. And I know some people, they don't track calories, but it's sometimes important just to do it initially, just to see where you're eating, because then you'll know. Like I say, like the easiest way is like knowing your BMR. There's many calculators out there, but I say the easiest way is like if you weigh 150 pounds times 10, you need 1,500 calories. I bet you all, if you track it, I know you're probably only eating 1,000, 1,200. I see it all the time. And if I
Wow.
look at your,
I mean, like with desk jobs, I see the opposite. It's like people are at their desk and you're bored. And so it's almost hard not to eat all day. That's interesting.
And we were talking about that because when you really track too, then you see they say they're eating healthy, air quotes, healthy, but you look at it, it's, and you'll see it's all carbohydrates and this minimal amount of protein. So it's all like probably carbohydrates and fat. So
look, it's gluten-free cookies.
Exactly. It's only 100 calorie snack pack. Yeah, but look at the ingredients.
Yeah.
Like what did they do to make it 100 calories? Like look at, like, the list is lengthier than if you had even just a regular cookie that had like butter, sugar, flour, what else is there? I don't know, baking soda. Like you can read that. Like I would rather you have that cookie rather than that 100 calorie snack pack, you know.
Totally.
Like 30 billion ingredients versus 5.
Mm-hmm. Even people who are like pretty well informed, I think there's what a lot of people are missing are being able to tweak for their individual bodies and situations, right? So for example, yogurt is like, you know, it's supposed to be a really healthy food. You know, for a lot of people, dairy is inflammatory. You know, according to research, probably for most people, dairy is inflammatory. Some people can assimilate dairy well. Most people, it's inflammatory. And if you were to cut it out, you'd feel better. So is yogurt a health food? If you're one of those people who can assimilate dairy very well, then yes, it's a health food. But for most people, it's not. But also, if for breakfast you're having yogurt and then, you know, with some granola on top, which has added sugar, but maybe your body needs an efficient source of calories. Most of us don't, but, you know, honey or whatever, agave isn't necessarily unhealthy. It just depends what your body needs. Most people don't need added sugars in their diet, but okay, cool. So you're having some of that with the granola. And then for lunch, you're having, you know, a whole grain roll with some lean turkey on it and avocado mayo. And then for dinner, you're having some, you know, rice with salmon. And I'm like, okay, so those are all really, you know, I can't say that you're having any bad foods, but where are your vegetables? You know, and like just eating the wrong amounts, the wrong proportions of different types of food in their diet is really big, a big issue I see, and not knowing how to adjust that, right? So we vary in our ability to assimilate protein from plants. And so for people who can easily assimilate protein from plants, having a more plant-based nutrition regimen can be really helpful. Whereas for somebody who has trouble assimilating the proteins from plants, having a plant-based regimen is detrimental because they really need the more easily digestible proteins from animal products, and then they go to their yogurt, and maybe you don't need yogurt. Maybe you need the fish, or maybe you need the beef, or maybe you know, with the agricultural practices we have today, the hormones from those things wreak havoc on your body, and you need to move in more of a plant-based direction. You know, being able to kind of see these nuances and these tweaks that need to happen can be the difference between success and failure. And that's why this diet worked for your friend and your coworker, but not necessarily for you. And I mean, like, that's just, yesterday we were talking, you know, like what's going to be the theme of this podcast, and it came up the nuances. And I'm sure, you know, by the time this episode goes out, there's going to be a much snazzier title on it. But I'm not good at snazzy. I'm good at like dry academic boring stuff. So it's the nuances of fitness and nutrition that a lot of people don't understand. And that's all these marketing claims out there make it much more difficult because they claim, well, research says you should do this. No, research doesn't say you should do that.
Yeah.
Research said that in a trial with 100 people in a
Right.
control group and 100 people in another group, this
Right.
group, you know, in the control group, 30% of the people lost weight, which is what would happen if nothing were done. And in the experimental group, 50% of the people lost weight. Well, that's 20% more of the people. So everybody should do the
Yep.
intervention they studied. No,
Uh-huh.
no.
No.
What happened to the 50% where nothing happened to them? Where they gained weight? What happened
Yeah.
to those people? What were the other factors that might have, you know, been at play with the people who it's there's I'm gonna go on a rant here.
I mean, like, I know, like, nutrition is so individualized. Your nutrition has to be personalized because if you don't take into account who the person is, what have diets have they done, what is their mindset, what is everything going on, because it's not like in a bubble, like, okay, I give you this, protocol, and poof, things are gonna like happen just like that. And it doesn't happen like that. Like,
Mhm.
something may happen maybe for someone in 6 weeks, something may happen for someone in 12 weeks, and maybe in like 20, or maybe even a year. So like a lot of women right now, we've been under eating. Because we have been under eating, we have to kind of slowly build up our caloric intake. And because your body sometimes doesn't know what to do with food, like Nancy can be like that rock star where you have her eating more and bam, she loses it. Where you have me, I'm the type, you added more, I gain weight. Or you have another individual like Jill, she just idles. So it's like, it's like, okay, so I can give more to this person because, they assimilate it better, like you were talking about, and they take in calories and then poof, they just lose weight. But like for me, it's like, it's almost like baby steps, and that's the hard part because, yeah, I want to, make progress, but I have to see what my body does with it. And you have to know what the individual too, because they can be like, yeah, I don't mind gaining weight. Whereas this person has not been eating. They're afraid to eat because if they gain weight, their mindset is if I eat food, I gain weight. And so they starve themselves. So this is not the person where you're going to go like, hey, let's go macros.
Yeah.
This is more like, hey, let's incorporate like healthier eating things. I mean, like her diet was like, I go to Starbucks, I have pastry, and I have a frap. Okay, so let's make the better choice. If you say that that's what you do for breakfast, okay, maybe why don't you have maybe an egg cup? And maybe why don't not have a frap? Maybe you have an Americano with a splash of, creamer. Like go, like you almost have to go baby steps with them because they're on this journey of their own, and you can't impose what you know was to be true because that's not, as a coach, you just have to lead them to the better choices. You can't impose what you want to do because I can have Jill, that's a rock star, and she can be on macros and she's just on point, on point, on point. And that's like the ideal client. Like you're like, damn, like, wow, that's so amazing. Like you give her like, okay, 10 grams more protein. Like, okay, got it, coach. Like you look at their MyFitnessPal, like it's like between like 5, or you tell them, okay, well, I'm feeling like they say like, okay, I need more recovery. I'm not sleeping well. Okay, let's bump up your carbs. All right, coach, got it. You're like, yeah, that's the person. But those are two extremes where if I eat, I'm going to gain weight and I'm going to starve. I'm just starving myself. Whereas this one is like, I want to eat everything and I'm going to train. And so it's like, again, it's like these nuances of like, where do you go? It's like, it's very individualized. And outside on all this social media, it's like, okay, 6-week program, here's a template. But it's online, they don't see you. And so that's the beauty of when you're having one-on-one coaching where they can say like, life happened, I wasn't on my macros, or I didn't eat healthy this week. Okay, let's reset again. Okay, this week, okay, let's make the healthier choices. And so it's not about like you got to be on point all the time. Let's adjust to your life because life happens. Life is just not like linear. We're like, yeah, okay, well, I'm just gonna slide on by. So yeah, so that's what we were talking about.
Yeah, totally. And I think, I mean, that's one of the things you hear a lot, right? Well, no, I really want to start with you, but I have to wait until blah, blah, blah is over because I won't be able to do it. And I'm like, no, no, this is when we should do it, because whatever we decide to do for you needs to work and get results when your life is happening.
Yeah.
It's like, well, because I have to travel a lot for work right now.
Yeah.
So we should figure out how you get results and stay healthy and strong, and whatever your goals are for your own body while you're traveling a lot for work.
Yeah.
That's what we have to work on. It's not, let's wait until life is peachy, because then it's never gonna last.
I mean, like, life, you're always going to be a constant busy. Like, where in your life are you going to say, like, oh, I'm never going to be busy, so I'm going to wait 3 months from now when I'm not maybe you'll be less busy. But
Mm-hmm.
even when that 3 months happen, when you say I'm going to be less busy, you don't know what's going to happen in that 3 months again. So let's deal with what you have now, and let's play the cards that you have, because this is the cards that you have.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not going to change, because Jill's cards are different from yours. Because, like, I had that habit of, like, you see these things and you're like, wow, it worked for them. And you want it to work for you too. But again, that's not their body. And that's why it didn't work, because you're not them.
Yeah.
You have your own body. So let's work with your body. Maybe what they did is totally, like, they've been, like, always eating the healthier choice, where you've been just like I said, like the Starbucks, there's cookies there, so I'm just going to eat that. You're just kind of flying by the seat of your pants nutrition. You're going to take a longer process than that person. So you may have that six month journey, 1 year journey, as opposed to a 6 week, 12-week journey. And so it's bringing that awareness to that individual. Look, this is where you are. This is where you want to be. You have a lot of work that has to be done. You can't expect, if you gained weight in 6 years, like 60 pounds in 6 years, to get off the 60 pounds in 6 weeks. It's not going to happen. It doesn't happen like that unless you starve yourself. But as a coach, you're like, I'm sorry, I can't help you. If that's what you want, I cannot help you. You can go to someone else, but I can't allow that for myself to say, like, I'm going to let you lose 60 pounds in 6 weeks. Like, that's, I don't know. You know what I
It's gonna
mean?
be unhealthy.
Yeah, totally.
It goes against our integrity to do something like that,
Mm-hmm.
And also, I mean, you're right in that the transition, because you're changing your lifestyle, you're creating habits, and that can take a while, and it can be different for different people depending on how much the new habit and lifestyle clashes with the old one. But when you think about it, like, I mean, think of it as, like you said, a 6-month journey, a 1-year journey, even a 3 to 5 year journey in some cases for certain things. What is that compared to the rest of your life if it's actually going to last? You know what I mean? It's really nothing. There's no rush here. There's no race unless there's some imminent health danger that you're in. So do it in the way that's actually going to be sustainable, instead of going around in circles doing things that you can't actually stick with.
Yeah, and that's how we get that yo-yo dieting. Like, okay, it worked for 6 weeks. Okay, now I'm done with my 6 week. Now I'm gonna eat the way I was eating before those 6 weeks. Okay, I gained the weight again. So now let me do another 6 weeks. Okay, I lost the weight. Okay, I'm gonna go back. And it's that cycle. And it's like you were saying, like, if you can probably just lose maybe 1 pound or half a pound a week, and be a cumulative effect of 10 pounds over maybe 6 months, and keep it off. I mean, I would take that over the 10 pounds in 6 weeks and gain maybe the 10 plus more, and you're back to square one and going backwards again, as opposed to, they would say slow and steady wins the race. There is some truth to that, because you are going at a slower pace. You are making those changes so your body can accommodate, to be like, well, okay, I mastered this. It's always like, okay, you mastered this. What else can we add on your plate? And it's understanding, again, the individual. Maybe their life is very stressed out that all they can do is just add protein to each meal, not track. And, that may be the better thing. Like, okay, let's add more protein. Let's add veggies. So every time you have a meal, focus on protein and veggies. Now carbs, it can be like, okay, have a healthier carb. Maybe the banana's better than the candy bar. And so it's always making those better choices. Like, okay, you mastered that. All right, let's add more protein. Like, you had maybe like you were talking about, like maybe palm size protein. Well, let's make it a bigger palm size. Let's add more protein. It's adding on to those positive habits, because if you don't master the basics, you're never gonna make it a lifestyle. And it's all about making it a healthy lifestyle that you don't always have to go back to square one and relearn them again. It's like, I had a conversation with one of my clients, and she had went to this, boot camp, and they give him this plan. We were talking about the tilapia, the asparagus. Like, who eats tilapia and asparagus every day in their life?
Oh, meal plans.
And it's not even healthy. Like tilapia, like he told me maybe, wild caught salmon. Okay, but to do that for 6 weeks just to lose weight,
Yeah.
it's like, what did you learn? You didn't learn anything. Like, how did you learn healthy habits? You didn't learn anything after those 6 weeks, because they don't even transition you after those 6 weeks. It's like, okay, let's do another challenge. Okay, you want to bulk up now? Let's go on another plan, So, and it's so hard getting those people out of that mindset. So with that client, all I had her do was make healthier choices. Like her non-negotiable thing was her chicken wings and beer. And because she was on the 6-week planet, she used to like crave more, I don't want to call it bad stuff, of that kind of nature of food, like her fun, I'll call it fun food, her chicken wings and beer. So she used to eat like 20 wings and then maybe like a pitcher of beer. But because I said, like, let's make healthier choices, she says, you know what? I don't crave it as much anymore. I'll eat like 5 wings, done with it. I'll maybe have just like a glass of beer and I'm done with it. And she feels satisfied. She doesn't feel guilty. She doesn't feel deprived with her diet, because you can incorporate that. It's like, okay, if today I'm going to eat chicken wings and beer, I'll make the healthier choice for breakfast and lunch. And that's the balance. That's the beauty of you navigating your whole life. That's strategy for your life. And you create that habit. Now you have a strategy to enjoy your life every day. And that's so much more powerful than giving them a meal plan, giving them a template, because now each individual makes it work for themselves. And it's not always, Mel, what do I eat now? Oh, well, I'm going to a vacation. They're not going to have oatmeal. They're not going to have eggs. They're not going to have this. They're not going to have that. Now it's when I go on vacation, like, okay, that's a protein. Okay, that's a carbohydrate. That's a veggie. That's a fat. There's my meal. Done. Easy, right?
Yeah.
And meal planning it.
Yeah, totally. Like people ask, like, oh, I want a meal plan. I don't give people meal plans. I collaborate with them to design their own meal plans so that they learn how to do so. Because like you said, then when you're done with the 6-week challenge, what are they going to do?
Yeah.
There's no way to keep the results. It's not sustainable. It has to be learning. You have to learn how to create your own nutrition regimen and make those decisions for yourself in a way that works. If you're going to make it last for your entire life, that's it. I'm totally with you on that.
I think we overcomplicate things. Like everything is super complicated. Like I'm so guilty of it. Like I've been down this path, so I know that struggle, and I know that anxiety of like, oh my God, I can't make it work because I'm looking at my meal plan, I'm looking at my template, and they're telling me to eat this, but they don't have it here. And it creates this like I can't go on vacation because, they're not going to have what I have. And so, like you said, it's giving them back the power. It's empowering them. Like, hey, tell me what you like to eat and we can work on it.
Yes.
Because like I'll go with them like, okay, tell me what you like to eat. What's your protein? And so I like to have things like, the rules of threes. Okay, let's have 3 proteins. Let's have 3 carbohydrates. Let's have 3 veggies. Let's have 3 fats. You pick one from each category, you have your meal. Done. That's it. Like, don't overcomplicate things. Your body knows what to do with those nutrients because it's real. It comes from nature. Now you get something from a box, your body doesn't know. That's where you start gaining the fat, because those toxins go into your fat. It's like, I don't know what this is. What do you want me to do with it? It's actually trying to save you by putting it in your fat because it doesn't know what to do with it.
Yep.
And I've come, for me, it's been a struggle for me because the post that I did yesterday was like looking the part, because when I started dating Johnny, like he was a personal trainer, and I'm like, oh my God, do I even look the part? Am I toned enough? Do I have the abs, the arm, the legs, the butt, what are they going to say if I don't look the part? Then it goes down this rabbit hole of finding that next nutrition plan, finding that training protocol. And it never worked because it wasn't the problem. The problem was me making stories in my head that he wanted it for me. And it wasn't that, it was me trying to build myself into something who I'm not, and that's not who I was.
Mm-hmm.
And when you can see what the root of your problem is, it's majority of the time it's going to be your mindset and how you feel about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So along with nutrition, there's a lot of mindset training too. Like, hey, how did you feel when you ate healthy? Most likely to be like, you know what? I feel so much better. I feel so proud of myself that I ate this way. And that's the win right there. That's the win that you want. It's not losing that weight. It's not that number on the scale, because if you go through life saying that that's who you are, that number, it's not like, hey, Mel, I know you lost 10 pounds. It's like, hey, Mel, I know you're a good person. You're successful. That's not how people are known that are successful. Oh, that's Nicole. She's the one that lost 20 pounds. They don't say that. They say, no, the one that helps super busy moms, single moms with their nutrition. And that's what you're known for. And so when they get away from that number, they can focus on different things in their life. More positive mindset, more positive relationships, personal development. And it all trickles through. And now they're not so focused on one thing in their life anymore, just that number, just me grinding at the gym. And you become much more than that, more successes in life.
Yeah. And I think like also there's an idea like embedded in our culture that people feel uneasy if things feel easy and simple. It's like, if I'm not struggling and pushing, then there's something wrong. They don't feel at ease. Like it has to be difficult. And I think that like busting through that a bit, like especially with single moms who are in crisis, busy moms in general who are just stressed out and burned out, it doesn't have to feel bad. There is a path. And again, it depends on your goals. If you want to look really great for an event in a month, that's a completely different protocol and journey than if you're doing this to create habits for the rest of your life. But it doesn't have to feel bad. It doesn't have to take very much willpower or discipline at all if you do it right. And the reason is because when you start to make healthy changes, and I mean, it's up to us as the coaches to guide them to make the changes, the high leverage changes that will cause the effects that make it easy. But what makes it easy is when you actually feel better, So when you make a change, and I think as coaches we have to figure out what's going on in their life and what levers will make them feel the difference fastest. But once you feel that difference, you can go back, and you definitely fall off the wagon sometimes and you slip up, but then you miss it. You miss that good feeling. And all of a sudden it doesn't take willpower and discipline to get back into it. You want to. And so, what is that path for you? For some people, it starts with sleep and stress management. For some people, it starts with changing what you're eating, cleaning up your diet so that you have that energy boost. You get rid of that sluggishness, that inflammation, that brain fog. For some people, it starts with the physical activity, because once you have the physical activity, again, it boosts your energy and you feel better. And then your cravings go down because you have the endorphins and you're not looking for comfort foods to make you feel better. Whatever it is, everyone has a different entry point. But once you find it, you start this journey and you make the changes. Like you said, you make them slow enough where you can actually integrate them and make them a permanent part of your life. And I use the term permanent loosely because things always change and we'll slip up at times and whatever happens, but an overall permanent part of your lifestyle. And, so wherever you start, you make the changes. When you start cleaning up your diet, yes, you might miss those foods, but now when I have a cheat day, I'm like, I'm like, okay, that was really fun. I can't wait to have salad or vegetables
Exactly.
because
I totally agree.
I feel the difference in my body, and my body craves the stuff that'll make it feel better. And did that
Right.
happen overnight? No. That
Yeah.
journey took years for me because I mean the cravings and the way I was I was raised in a family, Italian, Puerto Rican, food is life, food is love.
Yeah.
The emotional attachment that you
Yeah.
have to food when you're raised like that, it's hard to let go of. And
Yeah.
so yeah, like to actually transition the way I ate and my thinking took a long time. Now, if I knew what I was doing, if I had actually gone to school for nutrition coaching and everything, then it would have been faster. But given I did it on my own, it took years. But there was a point when I realized I actually want the whole grains. I don't want the refined ones because I feel better on whole grains, and I somewhere along the line and just started enjoying the flavor. How did that happen,
Yeah.
When did I
And
start enjoying these foods that I would never touch before? When did I start craving them? Now it's like there'll be times when I'm just like, oh, I just really want to work out. And that didn't happen
yeah.
overnight. At first, working out was torture. I was the
Mhm.
spastic asthmatic kid. To become an adult who works out, that didn't happen right away. But yes, I think for people too, getting rid of this myth that it has to be torture and it has to feel bad, or that if it feels bad, if you feel like you're pushing harder, you're making more progress. That's not always true either. you know like, it can be more
Right.
effective when it feels good on this journey. And yes, there'll be a little bit of
Yeah.
willpower when you first start something, like that first time you have to make the change. Of course, it takes willpower. But if the change makes you feel better,
Yeah.
then soon after, it won't take very much willpower anymore.
I mean, I'm gonna out myself out, and I used to be like that all or nothing person, and be like, okay, I have to be good Monday through Friday, be on point, and then Saturday is going to be my cheat day. And you know what happened? I became so food obsessed. Like, John can attest to this. Like we were talking about, we have this cabinet on the top of our fridge. We call it the attic. We would stockpile food in the attic just so that when it hit midnight on Friday for Saturday, we would start, we're like, oh yeah, cheat day. So we would have like cookies, we would have cakes, we would have the ice cream in
For
the
breakfast.
in the freezer. Like we would have exactly, we would make like ice cream sandwiches. And that was so detrimental to my mood that, it was like, I can't eat that. Everything was good or bad, good or bad, the good or bad syndrome. And like you said, it took me a while to understand, like, have that cookie. Did you enjoy it? Okay, move on. But you didn't have the whole 12 packs of cookie, the 12 of them, because that's not a bad food anymore, because I can eat it and I can be okay with myself and not feel guilty for having that cookie. So, like, maybe every day, like, I'll have like a piece of dark chocolate that makes me feel satisfied. I'm like, cool, move on.
Mm-hmm.
And when it's those days where, like, okay, like, I'm craving, like, maybe a piece of pizza, you don't have the whole pie, you just have a slice, and you're like, done, move on, next day, like, let's just move on. And I think we miss those things. Like, can you eat that and just be like, I don't have to eat the whole slice, I mean the whole pie. I mean that's a different story. When if I think, and I need to backtrack, I guess you need to know your triggers as well too, because
Yeah.
I know my triggers, that I have a certain food, like, I kind of like, that what I do to bypass that is, I'll have the personal size. And like, so like, last night I have the grain-free siete chips. So they're made with cassava flour, but they have such a good crunch with the lime that it's either I have to measure it out, or otherwise I'll just take the whole bag like I'm eating popcorn, like, you know. So what I'll do is I'll just have like snack size things. So once I'm done with it, it's like, it's out of sight, out of mind, and I'm done. And it's again, it's a learning process. I mean, like, probably for you and me, like, it's been probably over 10 years, 15 years. Like we didn't get this way like overnight. It's been a process where we are like, where I started was, of course, like, we talked about it again, was like meal plans and templates. But now it's like I did macros as well too. Am I looser? Yeah, I'm looser, because now you can eyeball that, and that goes into that intuitive eating, that mindful
Yes.
eating, because we have macroed it. I can say eyeball that and say like that's about 4 ounces. But for someone that has never done that, it's a whole different, another topic of like, you need to first kind of track to see what does 4 ounces look. You need to weigh that so that you can visualize and say like, that's what, what 4 ounces look like. That's what a cup of rice looks like, and it doesn't come like inherently known. You have to practice that to have that skill. And then you can become that, what we call that intuitive eater. But you also have to become a mindful eater as well too, where like I say, like, you give me white rice, I'm okay with white rice. I grew up on white rice. But you give me oatmeal, I blow up like a balloon, because it's that fiber content. Like I don't do well with that, and like someone that does sweet potatoes, like, yeah, that's my jam. When you give me sweet potato, I'm like, no. It's kind of hard, and you have to choose the right protein for you that makes you feel well, the right carbohydrates. I don't want to go into that gluten-free thing, but like finding what works for you is basically the bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
And I was guilty of also eating a lot of, I remember reading some sort of like blog, and they say, okay, if you eat seafood, it's easier to digest, you'll burn it quicker, so you'll lose weight. But the problem is, because I went to Oriental medicine school, my body constitution is cold. So if you give me the white flesh fish, I feel inherently colder. I know it's kind of like simple and complex with Oriental medicine, but if you're going to have fish, it has to be that red color, the one that's been working hard. It has like energy, it has movement, it has yang. So I switch whenever I have seafood. Now it's more of the wild caught fish. And before, I also went vegan as well too. My body didn't like it. Like for me, it didn't work for me. Again, this is going through my personal journey where it didn't. I had to try it to see if it worked, because they said, oh, going, plant-based, don't have animal protein. I was so more sluggish. Like I was like so sleepy. It didn't work for me. Like maybe for you, plant-based works for you, but for me, it's like it didn't work. Like I was like even worse off doing plant-based than having animal. And so again, that's the individual again, and that's the beauty. But again, if you are just having all plant-based and you're sedentary, that's another ball game in itself too, because if you're sedentary, you're not burning all those carbs in your body. So yeah, it's always going to be the individual person.
And it changes over time. I mean, what you just said, a plant-based diet worked really well for me until I got pregnant. And then I guess, my son must have depleted whatever it was in me, where now I really need some of that animal protein in order to function properly, to feel right. And it's knowing those nuances, knowing what levers to pull too. And I don't think it's that difficult to learn. There's a lot that you can learn without going to school for nutrition. And like that's what I teach in my do it yourself course. Like there are a few just like food experiments you can do to see how your body reacts to different things that can help you really fine tune your diet to a high degree, where you might not even need to go seek a professional, because you'll actually feel really good and see the results you want already. And then if you need something beyond that, the dollars you spend when you see that professional or that coach will be much better spent, because you've already taken care of the basics, So, I mean, for me, the plant-based did make a big difference with my hormones. And then it took me going to a functional medicine doctor who could help me to rebalance my hormones with natural herbal supplements in order for me to be able to tolerate food from animals. And when I was pregnant, I definitely needed them. That was one of the first, like before I even knew I was pregnant, I just felt really wrong and needed to add that in. But once I was able to add those in, my hormones were balanced. I felt more balanced because I did feel more satiated. And so my body had been, it's hard. If you're not able to work out a ton, like if you are at a desk, if you have to be still throughout most of the day, it's really hard to get the amount of protein that your body needs just to maintain health. Approximately 1 gram. I mean, they say 0.08, whatever. Let's just say it's approximately 1 gram of protein per kilogram of body weight. And so for me, that would be about like 65 grams of protein a day. And it's hard to get that much while eating a whole foods vegan diet. So assuming you're not just relying on like powders and supplements and stuff, to get that amount on a whole foods vegan diet without having so many calories that you start gaining weight. And so depending on your goals, on your weight, people talk about genes. I think the reason I got so into nutrition and fitness is because I have crappy genes, and it's like, it's actually really frustrating what you were saying, how you'll give your clients something and you're like, well, how did they get results so easily? I have to work 8 times as hard to get where they are right now. And they're just, oh my God, I just like started eating spinach and I just dropped like 20 pounds and now I look like a model. And you're like, oh, why can't that happen with me? I have to be like on point 100%. And if
it's frustrating.
So I mean, genetics plays a part, but I mean, hey, like you can have bad genes and still look and feel great. And I'm actually kind of grateful for my bad genes in that sense, because I think if I couldn't see the effects of the poor choices I made on the outside, it wouldn't feel as real to me and I wouldn't have the same motivation to make the healthy changes. And that's what started me on this journey. Now, because I've made these changes, I can feel the effects on the inside very much. But at the beginning, if I didn't feel unhappy with the way I looked because I had the bad genes, and this is all related to weight, right? Because in our society, we have this big focus on it. And so going back, before I got on this whole journey and really started appreciating the health side of things, it was, I'm 17 and I feel fat, and so like that's what started me, is like every 17-year-old girl on the planet, I was told that because I didn't have a 6-pack and I could pinch some skin, I was fat, and therefore I started working out. But then when I saw my health start to change, my allergies, my asthma, as I started making these changes in my diet, all of a sudden the motivation changed. But, still, like, I think if I didn't have the genes where if I could go out and eat pizza and eat McDonald's and all of this stuff and still look the same and, overall not feel that different, like your typical like 21-year-old guy, like enjoy that while it lasts, guys. I think that it would have been harder for me to make those healthy changes. I think it's actually seeing the difference on the outside and feeling it quickly on the inside with the bloating, with the brain fog, that keeps me on track in a lot of ways. So yeah, I'm grateful for my bad genes.
I hear you too, because like if it wasn't for my bad genes, like I wouldn't want to also better my life. But again, it's the individual. Do you want to make it better for yourself? But like going back to like how you said you were, you're Puerto Rican and you're Italian, and it's about eating. Like I'm Filipino, we're always about eating. And the thing is, they always say, eat more, eat more, eat more. So of course,
you haven't eaten in 4 hours? That's bad for you. Are you starving yourself?
And so it goes into this, the eating more is the love. Like if you eat my food and if I see your plate is empty, it's like, okay, them as your family member, they know that you love their food. So that's the love, right? But then again, it builds into these habits of, okay, well, my mom said that I have to finish everything on my plate, otherwise it's wasted. Or it's like, we were brought in to eat what's on the plate, right? I mean, God bless our parents. They didn't know, healthy versus unhealthy. I mean, they only knew like, this is what we're going to eat. There's food on the table. Be grateful. And yeah, I was grateful to having food on my table. But the thing is, I never learned how to eat healthy. But as my childhood, like I was gaining weight, you know, as you go through puberty and you're like one of the chubby kids, and then all these girls are having dates and you're just like, oh, you know, and then it goes into like, I'm not skinny, you know, and there goes that cycle of like, I need to be thinner to matter more. And it's not you weigh less to matter more, but that's how it is. Like, you know, boys don't look at girls for like, oh, she's got a great personality, you know. They'll be like, you know, she's pretty, she's cute, you know. It's not like, oh, she's good at volleyball. No, it's like, oh, she's the thin one, you know, she's got lots of girlfriends, you know. You're part of the in group, you know. And so it always goes back to your childhood, and it's hard to learn what you knew as a child. And going through an adult, it's like you have to make choices sometimes that go against what your family say, because you know it's right for you. And that's the hard part too, you know, going against like the grain. And I think like what we're doing is kind of like going against the grain about, you know, I can't give you that 6-week challenge. I can't give you what you want because it all depends. And we were talking about yesterday, it depends.
Yes.
It depends, you know? Not depends diaper, but it depends on your body. You
Yes.
know?
Totally. Yeah. Like that, you know, that biofeedback, like we also mentioned, you know, there's all these calculators and numbers and stuff you can use. And those are great tools for a nice starting estimate.
Yep. Yep.
And then in the end, at the end of the day, what matters? What your body says.
Yeah. And again,
how your body reacts. What are the results?
That's the simplistic thing. Again, like I know it sounds unsexy saying like it just depends what your body does, but that's the bottom line, because we don't know what your body is going to do. Like if I had a crystal ball, then yeah, maybe, but you know, we're not magicians, you know, we're not from, you know, Harry Potter, you know, or anything like that. And if it was that easy, yeah, you know, I can say like, okay, boom, you're going to lose 10 pounds in 3 months. You're going to do this, you're going to do that. But we don't know. And like you said, it all depends.
It depends totally. And knowing what levers to pull. When you see a certain result, what are the actions that connect with that result, and how do you change them to get a different result? You know, that makes a big difference too. I mean, we can't end this podcast without you telling your personal story regarding keto.
Oh gosh. So, you know, you hear the keto everywhere. Like that's just like the buzzword all the time. And so I thought I was Atkins. Now let me tell you the difference. So I did a little research on keto. Now keto was first developed for children that were not responding to their anti-epileptic medication. So back in the 1920s, you know, one of the doctors in the Mayo Clinic, you know, he formulated a published study that by decreasing carbohydrates, they're functioning more on their fat. And so here's where the kicker is, like when people are saying now they're doing keto, there's a protocol to keto. It's 75% of your calories is fat, only 20 is protein, and only 5 is carb. Now you ask a person out there, what are you doing for keto? They're saying, oh, I'm eating protein and I'm eating high fat and no carbs. That's not what keto is. That is sort of like the Atkins style diet. And even now, like the Atkins, like they have a 4-phase program where they introduce carbs back. So it's never taken away from you. And so that's where, you know, I thought in my mind, well, okay, I let go of the carbs. I'm going to lose weight. Yeah, I lost more than losing weight. I lost my sleep. I lost my hunger response. I lost my energy for everyday life. I lost my motivation to work out. I didn't want to work out because I was so sluggish. My cravings were high. And basically, it just was not the right thing. Now, there is a time and place for keto, and there is people that don't tolerate keto. And so for like doing keto, like number one, yeah, for patients that have epilepsy that have not responded to their medications. Number two is if you have what we call a metabolic syndrome. Now, we classify a metabolic syndrome if you have 3 out of this 5. Now, number one is your fasting blood sugar is greater than 100. Your blood pressure is over 130 over 85. Your triglycerides are over 150. Your HDL, which is your good fat for men, if it's less than 40, or for women, it's less than 50, or if you have a circumference of your waist for men greater than 40 and for women greater than 35. So if you have 3 of those, you have a metabolic syndrome. Now, if you have more than 3, you're at risk for stroke, cancer, and diabetes. So this keto style of working out, it helps them out because it lowers their blood pressure, it lowers their blood sugar. So yeah, it'll work. And number 3, it'll work for people that are sedentary. Yes, they don't need that many carbs, because if you're truly not working out, if all you're doing is sitting, and it's almost like you want to live a healthier lifestyle, yes, this way of this diet can work. But for people that is not going to work, is for people that are working out. You need carbs for your muscle, right? So all those people that are like, yeah, I'm doing keto and I'm working out HIIT style. Oh my God, like, come on. Like, if you look it up, you need carbs for your muscle. You need that energy, right? And next, it does not work for women. Women inherently need calories because we were supposed to carry a baby. So we need some fat in our body. So as a woman, it doesn't do well for us. But for men, they go on keto, they lose 20 pounds maybe like in a month. And they can function on that. But as women, we can't, you know? And so I had a conversation with one of my friends yesterday, and she had the gastric sleeve. Now, you're only supposed to have 1,000 calories. Now, in her mind, she was thinking because now she had this gastric sleeve, she needs to work out more. So basically, she was doing kickboxing, she was doing Pilates, she was walking, she was doing all this. So she was big. She was probably burning 1,000 calories. So you only have 1,000 calories. You burn 1,000 calories. You're left with zilch. So I said, look, this is not the thing for you to do. I know you only have 1,000 calories. So you inherently have to be a little bit more sedentary because you don't have anywhere to go with these calories anymore. So keto can work for you. And I looked it up. There is a bariatric keto diet, and it's more geared to them, where they're on, I think it's like 60% fat, probably 30% of their protein, and then 10% carbs, because then they do need some protein for the muscle. So there is a time and a place for keto. And I think people need to know what real keto is. And so I think once you learn that, then it's like, it's not for the everyday person, probably 90 to 95% can't be on keto. So yeah, for me, again, like I had to go through it to say like, hey, it's not going to work for you, but it's up to you. I will educate you, but this is the side effects what you are going to have. Now, I can't be responsible for that because I've educated you. Now, you are your own adult. Now, you make that choice, but I can only educate you because I can't force you to say, I'm not going to do keto, but I can say what's going to happen to you when you do keto. And so, yeah, so we have to go through things to finally make the informed decisions.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, it's a tool. Like it's a tool that's in our toolkits, and it can work really well in specific situations. But first of all, like you said, most people aren't in ketosis, even though they think they're doing a keto diet. So that's something else entirely. And then even for the ones who are, they're going through these periods where they have to supplement in a million different ways in order to be able to function. And then they say they get to a point where you have the focus and the bliss, and okay, that's awesome. And you can get that without going through all that stuff that's not good for your body. But also, like, you can get focus and bliss from fasting. Does that mean you should fast all the time? No. It's a tool. It's a tool in your toolkit. Maybe there are times to do the keto thing and get these benefits, and probably not do it forever,
Right.
And then, I mean, that gets into, another thing that we've talked about in the past, which is, you have these tools in your toolkit. And I think especially when it's presented to people in marketing, like whether people read articles or they see something on social media, and it's making a claim that do this to get results, do that to get results. And I think it's really important to distinguish, like, what are the results we're talking about? Because I think a lot of times in the media, appearance, fitness, performance, and health aren't really specified. It's just under results. And then people make their own assumptions about what that is. And so, for example, when people say to eat or work out a certain way in order to quote unquote get results, if they're talking about your appearance, that might not necessarily be healthy, and that might not necessarily increase your fitness performance. It might only change the way you look, like make you leaner, get rid of body fat, improve muscle, make you look ripped, sometimes dehydrate you in order to do so. And so like that could be one version of getting results. And then there'll be information that conflicts. Well, no, actually that's bad. You're supposed to do this. Well, maybe they're talking about general health. And then another one will give completely different guidelines. And well, they're talking about fitness performance. And so for fitness performance, you need to be having more protein than you might need to have for general health. But fitness performance, they focus a lot on the macros and what that does for your muscles. And a lot of times they neglect the micronutrients your body needs for general health. And so if you want to increase your fitness performance, be healthy from the inside out, and like your appearance, chances are you're going to have to be able to pick and choose and combine these factors in the right way for your body. And so this is good, this is bad, do this to get results, no, do this to get results, no, do that to get results. They're all right in some way. Like, there's science doesn't lie. People say, well, why do you listen to science? Science can't agree on anything. No, that's the way science is presented by journalists or by marketing people in order to get us to read it, to click it. Or maybe they have good intentions, but they're not researchers. They're just the ones writing the article. And so it comes across differently. Most people don't get into the nuances of how on how research on human beings works, which is very different than the scientific method you learn when you're talking about physics class in high school, because inherently there are too many variables. And so what's the right way to interpret research on humans? And I mean, yeah, I think it's just so important to take the tools, whether it's keto, whether it's veganism, whether it's a certain workout protocol, and really dig deep and try to figure out, do that additional research to find out what results people were looking for, how those quote unquote results were measured, what factors were measured, and use that to kind of paint a more complete picture in your head of what these different tools do and when might be the right time to use them for yourself.
Have in our box are tools. Now, this tool may work for someone else. This tool may work for you, and it's nice to have different variables in your toolbox that you can have for the general population, the gen pop, the fitness population, and knowing each side will make you a well-rounded person. It's not like, here, this is what worked for Sandy, so it's going to work for Jill. Like, it doesn't work like that, and I think, like, the bottom line is, like we keep on talking about, like, it really all depends. It's just, you need to look at your whole person, the whole totality, because I can't just say, here, okay, and it doesn't work like that. I mean, like, how many times where you had like a to-do list and you're like, okay, I'm going to do this to-do list, and things happen. Then you're like, okay, I got to readjust again. It's the same thing with it's the same thing with your nutrition. Sometimes it's like, this week has been a busy week, I need to readjust. Or sometimes it's like, I'm so stressed out, what can I do to make my nutrition less stressful on myself? And maybe they were in macros, so you pull it back and you just say, make the healthier choices so you're not overwhelmed. And that's okay too, because it's honoring that person. It's honoring what's going on in their life, because that what makes you the better coach because you understand that person. You have that connection with that person. It's not just, here's an online program, go with it. And that's where a lot of probably times there's, say, things are not as successful. I don't want to say fail, but aren't as successful because they're left with this and they can't talk to a person. There's not that, Nicole, like, this is what happened. What can I do? Can we take, sometimes even I'll tell them, like, do you need a break? Like, do you need a break from this? If there's so much stuff happening in your life, is this a stressor? Now, that is the appropriate thing to do because maybe this is causing the stress. It's always, I want to look this way, but I have to follow these set of guidelines. But right now in your lifestyle, if you're constantly sick, if you are going through a divorce, if your child is going to college, if you are just having financial problems, then this is not the time to be on this plan for you. What you need to do is just be healthy in your situation so you can manage your situation.
Mm-hmm.
Because we can always go forward again and go back, but let's manage. Let's put out the fire what's going on at the present moment.
Mm-hmm.
Like the 10-pound loss, the fat loss is not the priority at this point. It's how are you going to survive in this moment in your life? Because who cares about if you lost 10 pounds if you can't even survive right now? It, like, going through, we talked about like relationships, like that in itself is a big stress. Like that is so, like, some people just say like, oh, this is happening. It's happening. You got to say it. I can't read your mind. And a lot of the times, people will kind of give you these mixed signals. I'm not a mind reader. If you don't tell me, Mel, I can't do this because I'm going through this, I can't help you. And it's, if you don't tell me, I can't help you. And I think that's a thing we were talking about, is that communication. And I think it's building that bond with your client. If you have that good communication, that connection, then that makes your results even better because first and foremost, you are a human being. Your results is not a indicator of you as a successful person. It's you and me connecting so we can make you successful. And so it's always that thing, like when I do my coaching calls, like weekly calls, I can have one client that can just be on, like, she's just on like a straight path, like no problems. She's just rolling with the punches, no problem. I can have another one where it's like we were talking about, like, okay, family situation, death of a family, then, like my car broke down, then I'm losing my job. It's like, it's totally different again. So if we can connect, I think that's going to be the success of the relationship, the connection.
Yeah, and I think you brought up something so important too, because yeah, I mean, I agree with you with the connection. And I also, I mean, what really hit home for me, just because of my history and most of the women I work with, is the part about, adjusting your goals for the situation. And when you're in a crisis situation, I think, a lot of people, it's like, okay, I need to stop now. And I think what you said is the perfect answer, because it's not about stopping. It's about changing your goal from maybe I want to lose 10 pounds to look better to I need to be at the top of my game mentally and physically in order to be able to deal with this situation with a clear head, make good decisions, have the energy to function with little or no sleep for however long it takes to get through this crisis situation. And for those women, I mean, for people in general, but because we both, work with busy moms, it's really a matter of survival at that point. Like, you do the health and the fitness thing, not because of bikini season. You do it because you need it in order to crush the demands that life is throwing at you. This is so much deeper than look at me and how hot my butt looks in leggings. It's not about that. But at the same time, it's kind of nice when you do these things in order to crush crisis that you're in, and then you start to notice that your butt looks good in leggings. I mean,
Yeah,
we'll all take that.
I'll
It
take that.
happens, they correlate, but that's not the primary goal. That's not what it's about. It's about managing the stress, making sure you're at the top of your game physically and mentally. You have the stress management in place to handle a situation emotionally. You know the mindfulness techniques in order
Mm-hmm.
to deal with it. Because honestly, when you're in those crisis situations, and if you're a single mom, it's kind of a crisis situation for a long time. But even moms who, that you have the ones where they have the young kid and this one has this chronic illness, and then their mother had this diagnosis and they're taking them to the doctor's appointments. And it's like, no, this isn't the time to stop worrying about what you eat and exercise. This is the time to make sure that you are eating very well and exercising. And it might look different,
Right.
right? In order to manage it in that situation, it'll look very different. But this is the time to put more energy into doing those things correctly, because that's the only way you're going to get through this situation intact, like
Mm-hmm.
physically, emotionally, mentally, and avoid going over the edge of a cliff and into a downward spiral.
Right. And John and I, we talk about things. Is your body safe, in a safe place to do what you're wanting to do? Like, is the total body safe? Like, are you in a good space that your body feels safe enough to go in a caloric deficit? Like, are you eating enough? Are you creating that safety in your body that you have enough calories that once you start decreasing it, it doesn't see it as a crisis? It's
Mm-hmm.
more like, I have enough calories. Yeah, you take away like 200-300, like, I'm still good because you've given me enough. And people don't realize that when you're not giving yourself enough calories, you are putting your body in such an unsafe place that all your physical functions, your physiological function, your mental functions are not on running on full cylinders. It's
Mm-hmm.
just like barely running. And so, we always talk about, like, okay, you want a fast, efficient car like a Ferrari. You don't put crappy gas. You give it like supreme. You love that thing. You wax that thing. You're just like
Mm-hmm.
seeing that thing. Now it's the same thing when you want your body tip top shape. You're like taking care of your body physically, emotionally, mentally. Like, it has to be there, so that way, yeah, if I'm running on low gas, you know, I can still make it because I
Mm-hmm.
have. It's like if you only gave your Ferrari like a quarter gas a tank and then you just did like a race down the street, like, it's gone in a matter of moments. But if you're running on full tank of gas and you have that race down that street, you're maybe left with still like 3/4 tank. You still have enough gas in the tank, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And so people are nowadays are just kind of running on like maybe quarter tank and are afraid to refill their tank because, oh my God, I don't know what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard. Like, I've been there where it's like, you want me to do what? You want me to increase my calories? You're like, that's scary. It is scary. And yeah, like we talked about, you may gain weight, you may lose weight, you may stay idling. And so again, it's like, again, just knowing the whole situation of a person and just keeping them safe, knowing that what they're doing is kind of putting them at risk for certain things. And that's all that we can do, is just let them know, just educate them.
Yeah, 100%.
Mhm.
Like, you have to fuel yourself. The quality, like you said, micro, like nutrient density, like,
Mhm.
so even if you're having the calories, um, I think some people reach the point where they're showing signs of not having enough nutrients, of malnutrition in different ways, but meanwhile they're gaining weight. And so they're like, but wait, I need to eat less. And it's like, maybe you need to increase the density of certain
Mhm.
nutrients in the diet I mean, we could go on about these nuances forever,
Yeah,
because there's
forever.
all these levers to pull in
Yeah,
different situations. And every time you bring up an example, I think of other examples, and it could go on forever. Um,
I know. We geek on nutrition. I'm totally a geek on nutrition. Like,
yes.
I always tell people, like, whenever we go on vacation, I always look for a Whole Foods or a Whole Foods type of a place because I know that's where I'm going to get the best quality of food.
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, if I don't see that around, it's kind of like makes me a little anxious, because like, what is the quality of food going to be at that hotel or around me? And I think when you've gone through life just geeking on nutrition, that just becomes your normal thing. And I always say, like, my Disneyland is like a Whole Foods type of a place, because I can geek on supplements. I can go around. I can spend time, like, then again, I can go to Target as well too and geek at Target and just walk around the aisles. So it's like, nutrition is everything. I mean, because as you know, like they say, like, let thy food be thy medicine, by thy medicine be thy food, right? That, if I'm saying it right, the famous
Mm-hmm.
Hippocrates quote. And food is medicine. You don't necessarily, I mean, I'll never tell a person to stop taking their medicine,
Mm-hmm.
but there are certain foods that can help decrease your medication, your pill box. Like, as a nurse, I see them taking 20 pills a day. And like like diabetes, like, I
Mm-hmm.
can go on forever as well too. This would be like another podcast on, like,
This would be part two.
yeah, this would be like part two on healthcare. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I can go on forever at healthcare, but I guess my whole thing is, me being as a nurse, where the unit I work in, it's a step down from ICU. I can't help these patients anymore. They are acutely, chronically ill all the time. They are so far gone that I can't help them. It's like they're in and out all the time. And I know it's sad to say, but it's jokingly, we say, like, there are family members, because they're always coming around. And that's bad, when we always know, like, oh, that's Mrs. So and so. Oh, that's Mr. So and so. They're back. And like, when you know them that well, that's bad that they're in the hospital all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So the way I am from being an RN to a nutrition coach is, I want to be that person to help prevent them from going into the hospital, to prevent them to reduce their medication by using food. I mean, food is so accessible to everyone. Yes, you may not be able to get organic, but can you get fresh? Yes, you can. You may not be always to get organic meats, pasture raised, or free range, but can you get it more natural? Yes, you can. So
Yeah.
it's always like the good, better, best of what can you do at where you are. And I want to be that person as a nurse that say, hey, I want you to model what I'm doing, because I've made it work. I can't help you right now, but maybe I can help your family members. Maybe I can help the dynamics by eating better, so you have that enough energy to take care of them. Because being a nurse, you're just not only a nurse, you're a physical therapist, you're a social worker, you're a psychologist, you're an engineer, you're IT tech. You do everything what it is. So I'm with that patient for 12 hours a day. So yes, I get to know their family members. And this is just my thing on healthcare. It's a business.
Mm-hmm.
It's numbers dictates. I'm sorry to say, but it's numbers. Really, like, we as nurses, we want to help our patients, but we are numbers bound. You know, I want to help what I can do for my patient, but sometimes it's hard. But I take care of my patients to the best of my ability. Now, when I come on my nutrition coaching side, I don't have that limit. I can spend an hour on the phone with you. We can go through things. I see patients, I mean, I see clients sometimes here in my brick and mortar, and I can be their therapist. I can hold their hand. I can give them their hug and say, you know what, you're okay. You are fine. And sometimes that's all that they need, is that just someone to listen to them. In the hospital, sometimes they're in the hospital because there is nobody for them. And sometimes it seems like they get sick because there's no one at home. And truly, that's what it is. Where they get their social interaction is in the hospital. That's really sad.
Mm-hmm.
That you ask them, like, who's at home taking care of you? Nobody. It's just me. Like, how heartbreaking is that? That they're in the hospital because there's no one there for them. It's okay. I can go on forever again. I can go on forever. On that.
Oh, that'll definitely be a part two for us.
Yeah. I mean,
But I
that's
mean, tell people, so if they want to be that person that you're on the phone with for an hour or talking to and helping them work through these issues, how do they reach you? How do they get in contact with you? Where
So
can
I am on Instagram, Mel, Mel _ Bocobo, Bocobo. I have a lot of content mainly on Instagram, and I'm also on Facebook. It's my whole name, Melissa. Bocobo, and you can find me on Facebook as well. So you can always direct message me on either or platforms. So even if it's just say, hey Mel, like I just need someone to talk to, I'm here for you. And sometimes that's all that they need. And it's hard for people to be vulnerable and to say like, I'm at my wit's end. I just need someone to listen to. And a lot of the times, like I said, that communication is not out there anymore. People don't have someone to listen to them. And I can be that person. I'm going to be your person in your corner, no matter what, nutrition, healthcare, hug, anything. I'm here for you.
That's beautiful. I mean, it's your clients are so lucky to have you. They really are. Your followers, the people who associate with you, they're so lucky to have you and to have Johnny. I mean, you're just a power couple. It's amazing.
Appreciate that. I mean, we went through our own struggles, and I know that's another podcast issue, our struggles, you know, and if we didn't go through our struggles, we wouldn't have this concept of living 360 degrees of success, not only fitness and nutrition, but positive mindset, making it have the love in your relationships, having personal development. And it's not just like one thing where you're successful, it's a well-rounded thing. Because if I say those are your 4 pillars, if you only have one pillar that's standing, your whole house still collapses. Yep. So you need 4 of the pillars to be standing in junction to have your house, you know, be up and running. And so by doing that, it also trickles down into the kids, into the family members, because then they put themselves first. It's like, I matter. I'm putting myself first. Forget everything around me because this is what matters. Because a lot of the times we become the martyr. Like, oh, we don't put the oxygen mask on ourselves. We help everyone else but ourselves. And that's a lot of time what happens, why people are in the hospital again. They take care of everyone else but themselves. And they question, why am I sick? Well, because you haven't taken care of yourself, because you've been taking care of others. And yes, that is a positive thing, but where does that leave you for yourself? And if you can just even use nutrition to help yourself out, that's like pretty much everything right there, because you don't need to belong to a gym. You can go walking. You can spend time in the sun. You know, you can spend
time. You can use YouTube videos.
That's right too. You know, and there's so much things out there that you don't need to be in a gym. But if you have your nutrition, you know, that's pretty much everything else. Like, what is that? Like 70%, 80% of everything is nutrition. And that's pretty much like you pretty much won your day if you have the better choices in nutrition.
Totally. It all comes back to the basics.
Yep.
You know, what you eat becomes your cells.
Yeah.
Totally. Mel, it has been so great having you on. I always love talking to you. I can't wait to do this again.
I mean, like I said, we can talk forever.
Absolutely. And we'll do this again, have you and Johnny on for another episode, or
that'll be fun.
That'll be really fun. Yeah, thank you so much. And I mean, everyone who's listening, I just really encourage you to, you know, reach out to Mel, to check out her content, follow her. I love following her stuff. It's so the personal stories just are so relatable. And I mean, especially if you're a busy, married, working mom, I mean, this is it. That's what Mel specializes in. It's like specifically for you. So you have to check it out. Yeah, thank you so much for being here, Mel. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Nicole, because I know I'm going through my own journey. And thank you for having me on, because, you know, without you, you know, without what you do, without women connecting, without connection, we can't do this alone. And so I thank you again. And like, let's talk again. Like, yes. It's so fun.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And thank all of you for listening to Badass Moms, brought to you by the Holistic Therapies Directory. If you are a holistic therapist, or if you're looking for a holistic therapist, make sure you check out the directory. And don't forget that if you are a mom who is looking to reach high levels of fitness and health despite being sleep deprived and interrupted every 2 minutes, check out superbusymommycoach.com. Look for the intro discount, 50% off the do-it-yourself transformation. And I can't wait to hear from you guys and see your results. Take care.